Alright, I guess we're live. Hopefully everybody can hear me well. As you can see, wearing headphones and I'm using a real microphone so that the videos that we watch won't interfere with the sound that you hear. For those of you that might be new to the channel, that might stumble across this video or what have you, this is Kyle's Cars. I do a lot of how-to videos, a lot of tutorials, that type of thing. I'm a professional automotive technician. I have my own shop, and I've been in this business for a pretty decent amount of time given my age, so I think I'm qualified to react to some videos, hopefully. Anyway, giving it a minute here for people to catch on that I'm doing this. I'm going to go ahead and start off with one interesting video here. So,
car customization is the extension of a person, and that is what we do.
I find it very interesting that they're speaking English, but this is supposed to be like an Indian version of Pimp My Ride. I'm not really sure if this is supposed to be some type of parody video, but it caught my interest, so we'll see.
Modify cars.
So as you just saw, it was a pretty bad looking Suzuki. Not bad as in cool either, like had way too many modifications done on it to be tasteful, but I'm gonna guess that this video was probably recorded in the early 2000s. I'm hopefully the video was published in 2015. Hopefully it wasn't actually recorded in 2015.
Hi, I'm Aman. I'm a car enthusiast.
This is Aman's Maruti Baleno, which he wants to be transformed into a new and refined sports car.
Any preferences that you'd like to,
Okay, I'm just gonna start right off by saying there is little to no chance that you can turn anything made by Suzuki into a new or refined sports car. I mean, you could definitely refine it quite a bit. Sports car might be pushing the envelope on that thing, but we'll see what they got to say.
My favorite color would be like silver. It would be like Lamborghini simply because of those doors.
we'll try to make it that
He said his favorite color would be silver, and his car is already silver, so we'll have to see where they take that.
way, just like the way you want it.
Nimit's work starts from here. He is clear in his mind that how he is going to alter the appearance of this car. Each and every part which is going to have a new look is being removed so that a clear picture is in front of the eyes.
I gotta say, that pile of tools that they just laid out to do this job and to take off each and every part that's going to be modified was very small. So either these guys are seriously good at using very little tools, or they're not going to be doing much to this car.
That what accumulations and rectifications could be made to have a prolific and a racy car.
The car is generally dismantled from inside and outside before we start work.
All the parts which have been redesigned are being attached to the car very carefully.
Okay, it looks like they just put a ton of Bondo all over it and put like a weird body kit on. But let's see where this goes.
Aman had initially said that his favorite supercar was the Lamborghini. The Lamborghini is known for its door opening upwards, and we decided to give Aman a big surprise.
Yeah, that's literally the worst modification you can do to your car. Okay, so if this is supposed to be like some super high-end automotive customization type of shop, I find it very interesting that they didn't tape off the whole window. And we'll go back and just kind of look at. So they didn't really tape off anything. Half the wheel isn't even covered up. I mean, why cover any of the wheel if you're not going to cover the whole thing? And none of the windows are taped off. Look at the windshield, like they just put a little bit on the bottom. I can already tell you that this car might be like an across the street car at best, because overspray is going to be all over everything. Oh wow.
Now it's time to do the final coating of the silver paint.
At least they fully taped it before they put their actual color on, because but I mean, the fact that they didn't really tape it off for the primer, I mean, what good did taping anything do if you're gonna leave half of it uncovered?
80% of the car's interiors are in the form of its seats and door trims.
The most comfortable part of a ride is seat. To begin with the seat work, the foremost thing which is done is foaming it up to make it more comfy. To begin with the interiors of the
This guy has like the most stereotypical Indian turban on.
car, the first thing which needs adaptation is the steering wheel.
The interiors of this car are equipped with a WRC steering, a G-Ready gear knob, G-Ready racing pedals, a 5-inch tachometer with shift lights.
This tachometer is usually there in racing cars. It measures the rotation speed of.
I just want to point out that they put Spider on the tachometer, maybe to try and make it look like it says Supra, but why does he even need a tachometer? Like, this isn't like, I mean, it has a factory tachometer. Like, having a bigger tachometer is not going to really do him much good. And it's definitely not revving up to 10 grand anytime soon.
Of a shift. To improve the appearance of the vehicle and to make it stand out from the crowd, Nivith is choosing a.
I just wanted to take a second just to say I really don't understand why they even bothered speaking English in the show. It's clearly marketed to other people in India, and these people's English is not like that fluent. Their pronunciation is odd, and sometimes I can't even understand what they're saying. So why they recorded this in English, I don't understand.
Alloy wheels.
To keep such a high performance machine in control on the road, we needed extremely high performance racing tires.
Okay.
Choosing a right tire will enable better performance. So what could be better than world's #1 company, JK Tires? JK Tires is
World's #1 company that I don't think anybody has heard of, at least not in the United States. So, I mean, you could be like the #1 company in India, but definitely not the world, because I've never heard of it.
is one of the best, which tends to be fastest, capable and provide ultra-high performance to the sports car.
After comparing many brands available in the Indian market, we finally zeroed down on JK Tires because this was the only tire that offered us total control.
Those are not high performance tires. and I don't understand, like, that's their only choice. Do they not sell like Toyo tires in India? Do they not sell pretty much any other brand of tire ever? Because it seems like that's got to be about the worst. That's like the Walmart tire for sure. I just want to take a second to point out that they just had all those close-up shots of those wheels and tires before they even inflated the tires. Also, just interesting. I don't think it's super important. And look at the guy's shirt. I just noticed that. It's like something you'd expect to see in a trailer park. Not that it's important for the show, but...
Custom cars should not just look good, but they should be capable of moving very fast too.
The normal air filters are being switched by BMG air filters, which has the tendency of a motor racing car. Then there is servo, which acts like a turbine to suck in the air into the engine.
Okay, so I just want to start off, for anybody that's not super familiar with all these car parts that they're dealing with. So number one, they installed a short ram intake, which is basically a filter on the end of a pipe. There's nothing special about a short ram intake. It does not improve the performance at all. If anything, it actually hurts the performance of the car, because it makes it so that the car can actually take in hot air more than what the factory airbox would ever allow. So putting that intake on your car is going to make it run worse. It's going to make it so it has less power, unless you have a really bad factory airbox, which almost no car, and I don't think that even this car has one that bad. And then that little fan thing that he put in there, you know, it's only going to hurt performance. First of all, that one is just a fan, like a little fan with no motor behind it, nothing. There's nothing to it to pump air into the motor. So all you're doing is adding another restriction. It's not going to help. All this thing about having a ventricle effect on the air coming in to help with fuel atomization, that's all a lie. It's not going to do anything. Just like the Turbonator that they used to sell back in the day, that was a ripoff. And then you put pretty much, if you got to put a bunch of tape around it to make it fit your car, it's probably not going to help the performance. That's a pretty good rule of thumb, and that one definitely doesn't. So
Here the best lubricant servo of Indian Oil Corporation Limited is being used.
No custom car is complete without custom graphics.
yes, there's plenty of custom cars that are complete without custom graphics.
As we know that Aman wanted something peerless to be created, so our designers are working hard to make the car look stunning according to the desire. After a bit of research, a great computerized design is created, and after much changes.
Wait a second, I want to go back a second. I don't know what year this came out, but why are they putting a Scion logo on this dude Suzuki? And why are they putting any HKS logos on there? There's no HKS parts on this car. There's not a name brand part anywhere on this car so far that I've seen. Maybe the paint, I don't know what brand the paint is, but maybe Scion used to be a performance company way back in the day, but I never heard of them as a performance company. I've only heard them as a subsidiary of Toyota, so I don't know.
Changes, a wonderful custom graphics is produced.
The color of vinyl that we've chosen is black, silver with red highlights.
The application of the design is a tough job, but the work is going very smoothly, keeping every tiny detail in mind. Apart from the computerized designs,
they put a sticker that says Turbo Juice 2, which I want to say Juice 2, wasn't that a video game? I'm not sure. And then just a sticker that says Burnout. Maybe burnout is meant to describe the person driving the car and not what the car is actually capable of, since the only thing they did was put a crappy short ram intake on it.
handmade designs are also very much in use, which gives a remarkable upshot. These custom designs will definitely boost the eminence. It's going to look great. This music system is going to amaze Aman, as his ride is going to
This is the first name brand part I've seen them put on this car, period, at all.
be more fun-loving and more stupendous. After all the arrangements, the car is just one step behind to be driven off. It needs to be filled with the fuel.
Wow, that's atrocious.
Oh, marvelous, man.
How is it?
This is good.
The These are special rotational tires. They're meant for very high speed driving. So they'll make you go really fast without you losing any grip on the road. This is the intake charger. This you will use when you want to race your car. I've given you this combination of...
Wait, what? I just want to see what he was pointing out here. Go back to this.
This is the intake charger. This you will use...
What? What is this? I don't know what this is. He says you will use this when you want to race a car, but what is it? I'm not even sure. Like, I've never seen a part like this for anything.
Use when you want to race your car. I've given you this combination of red and black seats, 7-inch touch panel JVC system.
Thanks, Nivit. You and your team have done a really wonderful job.
I'm so glad that you liked our work.
I didn't like it, I just loved it.
It's all yours now.
Alright, now I want to see him go race somebody with like a real car. It almost spun the tires. Wow. I mean, the sad and scary thing about that video is I almost think they were taking themselves seriously. It seems quite possible that they were actually taking themselves seriously. Let's see if we can find something else here. And if you guys have any suggestions of videos I should watch, you know, you can go ahead and put them right in the chat, and I'll take a look at it and kind of go from there. Just trying to see what else. I had another couple of videos that I had found. I'm going to pull those up. But I mean, I'm not trying to say anything horrible. I mean, you know, for those of you that don't know, like Pimp My Ride, like the original MTV version was was totally staged. I mean, that's if you didn't already know that, you know, that's the way. That's kind of like the way that they worked. They would stage it. They were just, you know, you ever notice that they were only using cars that were in the immediate area of where they were going to shoot the show? I mean, how many crappy cars can there be in town? And also, like, the timeline that they were doing it, the quality of work that they were doing, it was just purely for entertainment. But the sad thing about that last video we just watched was they actually believed in what they were doing. It was almost like a promotional video, it seemed like. Here's one from Pimp My Ride International. I didn't even know they had an international show.
Hey, this is yours truly, Mike Posner, your host for Pimp My Ride International.
My name's Ed, I'm from Great Britain. And this is my ride.
This is us.
Honestly, that car isn't even that bad. Like, it actually is kind of cool in a way. Like, I kind of like the patina look on the hood, and it's definitely been lowered. I'm not sure if I would let somebody like Pimp My Ride touch my car if I had that car. I just want it to run good and look exactly like that. But I got a weird taste. As long as it runs good, I would love to have something like that.
It's an old school Volkswagen Beetle. My car was made in 1971. My dad bought it for me for my 21st birthday, which is absolutely amazing. I've always loved Beetles because they look so good and they're just such an iconic car. As you can see, the bonnet's seen better days.
Oh wow, you got a lot of stuff.
The main problem with Oscar, it's so cold. Heater doesn't work. The window steams up, gets soaking wet.
Yeah, actually, I'm pretty sure that that's a pretty common thing in Volkswagen Beetles of that age, like, because their engines are air-cooled. The heating system isn't too good in them because of that, because normally, like, your heater is moving coolant from the engine through the dash, So I could see how that would be a legitimate complaint. I don't know what you would do because I don't work on a lot of these, but I'm sure there is some way to fix that, but I'm not really sure. Probably some type of electric heater, I would think.
Right, so you need something to clean it with. Nothing does it better than a sock. As a DJ, music plays a pretty huge part of my life. This is my sound system. It doesn't work. The only noise I've got is the wind going by and the rattle of the engine.
I think the car really suits Ed's personality because it's unique and it stands out and everything. But unlike Ed, it just breaks down all the time.
Usually,
His girlfriend ain't bad looking, I'll say that.
I just use the car with my mates to go surfing.
You get out of the water and sometimes it's pretty cold, and the last thing you want to be doing is getting into an old car and with no heaters.
I'd never get rid of Oscar. My dad bought it for my 21st birthday and it's not going anywhere. I'm going to keep it for my whole life. So MTV, please, please, please pimp my ride.
What's going on? This is yours truly, Mike Posner. We are on our way to Ed's crib right now, whose father bought him a Beetle and thought he was buying him his car. It appears that it's being held together by duct tape. I'm kind of upset I touched that. Oh my God! And you have a girlfriend with this?
Yeah, that dude has a lot of stuff in the trunk of that thing. I kind of want to see what they end up doing to it, though. I mean, I have a feeling they're going to ruin it.
Okay, guys. 1971 Beetle. As you can see, it's seen better days. Okay, guys. We got this Beetle. 1971, which looks like red. But it ain't. It's dead. Painter, what are we going to do?
Well, it's not dead. It was running and driving, but I guess he's just trying to say a poem. I'm not sure.
Ed shines as a DJ, so we're gonna try to make his car as shiny as he is. Forget the red. We're gonna spray the car with waves. First the hood, the roof and the back in 6 coats of metallic paint.
Sounds cool. What about the bodywork?
Ed is into surfing, so we're gonna make him a slick surfer car. We're gonna keep the running board, and also we're gonna build a new surfing rack. We're gonna fix the window
so Ed can keep his head cool. Ryan, my wheelman, what you got? Ed wants to be the center of attention, but his wheels haven't had love for decades. I'm gonna paint the wheels in line with the car, so that we make most impact. This car is gonna be super sick. Yuri.
Wait a second, so they're not gonna change the wheels of all the things, they're gonna leave the wheels and just put paint on them. Okay.
What you got, homie?
Yeah, I'm just thinking, it's such a small Beetle, how can we stick all the gear in there?
Just kick it in, homie.
I'm gonna fill the hood with big subwoofers, amplifiers, big speakers, DJ booth, everything so he can throw his biggest party ever.
This dude had that entire front trunk area stuffed to the max. And then now this guy is gonna try and fill that area with speakers instead. That doesn't seem like it would be practical anymore. I'm just saying, like,
it's goodbye bedroom DJ and hello superstar DJ.
Yo, homie, my brother, what you got for us? Firstly, we're gonna stop that Arctic freeze that blows through the vents. We're gonna wrap up the interior so they're hot. Hot, hot! I'm gonna replace these ejector-style seats with some old-school surf wagon bench seats. But to fend off the cold, these bad boys are gonna be heated. Now that's hot. Now that's really hot. Cold.
So they're not gonna actually make the heat work. They're just gonna put heated seats in it. I guess it's better than nothing.
So let's put some love into this love bug.
Yeah.
Let's go. Ed, we're always riding the coolest wave. We're about to pimp your ride.
Alright, I just want to see what they actually do.
How low can you go?
Now Ed's car was born in 1971. We're gonna get back in the 70s groove and give this car some real platforms. I'm talking 15-inch of shiny chrome heaven.
thought he was just gonna paint it.
The only wheels Ed needs to worry about now are the ones spinning on his decks.
Ed loves a tune, but you never know it if you heard his car. So I have to fit all of this into this. We've got 2 subwoofers, 650 watt high-end speakers, 600 watt amp. We've got special mono blocks.
It was full of old food. This bug been showing some love. Plenty of love.
Come on, guys.
Come on, Ed. Now, as you recall, your car was kind of cramping your style.
Yeah, it wasn't too cool.
It wasn't. And furthermore...
Oh my God! That is sick.
So, the guy said he was going to put another rack on the top, but it appears that there isn't a rack. And pretty much everything I liked about the car, they ruined somehow.
Oh my God.
How you doing?
Light-headed, yeah, light-headed, man.
What? No way! What do you think, bro?
This is unreal, mate. Thank you so much.
You think you're gonna be the man on the beach now?
Standard.
First, like the window and the windscreen wipers, but any idiot can do that.
Okay, so I guess he put the surfboard rack on the back instead of on the top. Seems like that would be not the most aerodynamic way to carry a surfboard, but probably not horrible.
We made the car unique. We made it smooth. And we lowered the suspension.
Yeah, Oscar is looking real mean now, Ed.
Ed, remember the gaffer tape and the blanket because it was cold in here? Well, check out these custom-made bench-style seats. They're heated. We cover them in metallic vinyl. Very practical for wet surfer butts. And we use some diamond stitches. Very retro, baby.
Yeah, now somebody can burn this.
Now, Ed, we heard you was a DJ, but when we first...
See, they haven't actually talked about anything to do with the heater itself. So if he has defroster issues and his window isn't defrosting, it's just fogging up, he's still gonna have the same exact problem.
Saw your car, we were embarrassed for you. Ain't that right, guys?
Yeah.
Well, not anymore. Thanks to Jurian, the master of putting big things into small places.
So Ed, in the dash, you got a digital TV, DVD player with Bluetooth. Is this wicked? I put in the latest stereo with enough speakers so you can get the party started. Check out this.
You can't even hardly use it because of the way it's in the way. Yeah. I mean, I think I've seen everything I need to see on that. They pretty much, they ignored all the actual issues with it, like the heater and the defroster. Instead of fixing the heater, finding a way to do something about that issue, they just put heated seats in it, which doesn't fix the fact that his window doesn't defrost. And then, you know, they took a guy who didn't have enough space in his car already and had the trunk filled to the brim and filled the trunk with speakers. Like, that doesn't make any sense at all. So yeah, not a fan of what they got going on. Maybe I think I'm gonna switch up here. I'm gonna look at one of Doug DeMuro's videos. Not that he's super mechanically sided, but sometimes his videos I have a little bit of criticism for, so we're gonna take a look.
This is a 2001 Acura Integra Type R, and it's a special car. You see, people always focus on those 1990s Japanese sports cars, the NSX, the Supra, the 3000 GT, but people forget that at the very end of the 1990s, we also got this, the Integra Type R, the only Type R Honda ever sold in North America until the new Civic Type R came out last year. These days, really pristine examples of the Integra Type R, like this one, are selling for as much as $40,000.
So I don't think that everyone forgot about the Integra Type R. I'd say probably the people that were interested in the Type R remained interested all along, and I think that there's a new generation of kids coming up that are really into Hondas and into Civics and into Integras, and that weren't old enough to drive when this car came out. So I don't necessarily think that it's shooting up because people forgot about it and all of a sudden are remembering, like he's trying to position it. But we'll see what he's really got to say.
Today, I'm going to show you why. Now, I've borrowed this Type R from a viewer here in New Jersey, and it is a pristine, unmodified example with just 37,000 miles. And I'm going to take you on a tour of it, but first, a little history. Now, Honda has used the Type R badge for high-performance cars in Europe and in Asia for years, but none of them ever came to North America. We never got the NSX Type R, we never got any Civic Type R. The only Type R we ever got was the Integra Type R, badged as an Acura. They sold it here for 4 years, 1997, 98, 2000, and 2001, like this car. During that time, Acura sold fewer than 3,900 examples of the Integra Type R in the United States. And they were all stolen. No, but really, they were all stolen. The Integra Type R used a 195 horsepower, 1.8 liter four-cylinder known to car geeks as the B18 C5, and it was the hottest engine in the street racing world in the late 1990s and early 2000s. As a result, a lot of Integra Type R's were stolen and stripped for their parts, and especially for their engine. Many others were highly modified for street racing and for other types of racing. And it's very unusual to find one that has survived unscathed and unmodified like this one. And similar cars to this one have sold in the $30,000 range and up to $40,000. So
I wouldn't say that he's 100% wrong about that statement, but I wouldn't say he's 100% correct either. Pretty much like any car that isn't super expensive to buy brand new, that's a good performing car, you're gonna see that as, you know, they're traded in and younger people are buying them when they're used, and then they take the little bit of money that they make and they start putting money into it and make it a little bit nicer. You are going to see a lot of modified vehicles like this. I mean, if you go and you look for any Evo 8 or 9, good luck finding one that isn't been modified. It's just kind of what happens. As far as people stealing them just for the parts, I don't think that's why they were being stolen. I think they were just being stolen like to be sent to chop shops because, you know, there's a lot of Integras around, and Type R part swaps are pretty sought after even now. Like if you look at like Type R parts on eBay or any second-hand type of place you can buy that kind of thing, you're going to see that there is a pretty good markup, and they even make a lot of replica stuff. Like the Type R wing replica is really common on Integras and that type of deal. So I'm not saying he's wrong, I'm just saying that like it's not necessarily like it's not like a fully formed thought, I guess, is kind of what I'm saying.
Today, I'm going to show you why. I'm going to take you on a tour of the Integra Type R, and I'm going to show you all of the quirks and features of one of the coolest Japanese cars from the 1990s, early 2000s. Then, I'm going to get behind the wheel and drive it, and then I'm going to give it a Doug score. And for more of my thoughts on the Integra Type R, click the link below to visit autotrader.com/oversteer, where I've also rounded up a list of the coolest 1990s Japanese cars currently listed for sale on AutoTrader.
Yeah, okay, come on, get to it.
I'm going to start under the hood, where there are a couple of interesting quirks in this car. First off, take a look at the famous B18. This is the engine that everybody was so interested in stealing back in the day.
See, I don't know why he keeps saying that, because that's not true. Like, every single Acura Integra has a B18 in it, like, stock. Like, that's the way they comes with a B18, as far as I know. Now, what he's talking about specifically, the thing that is valuable on this engine is the VTEC cylinder head. But this cylinder head is not necessarily specific to this engine. You can swap on a VTEC head from another B series. There were Civics with B16 motors that have VTEC, and I believe there is a way to put that cylinder head on this motor. It's not totally uncommon to see like B18s and B20s with this LS VTEC type of setup on them. So why somebody would go out of their way to steal a car for this setup, I don't know. I don't think it's really worth the risk, but I guess I understand what you're saying. It is the B18 with VTEC is unique to this car, but I don't know if it's quite as valuable as he's trying to make it out to be.
Here it is out in the open, exposed. There are a couple of interesting things under the hood. One is, from this position, you can see the hood is rather high up. It's at like a 90-degree angle. Well, that's because it is currently in its service position. Mercedes-Benz models have this, and this car does too. There are two different places where you can stick the hood prop. If you stick the hood prop in the lower place...
That's true for all Integras, and I don't know if this is supposed to be something he's saying is unique for the Type R, because it's not. My Integra was like this. I had an Integra of this body style for a long time, so I don't know why that's supposed to be unique. I think Civics are like this too, but I'm not sure. I've never owned a Civic of this generation, so.
It just looks like a normal hood in a normal spot, but if you actually want to do serious work to the car and you want to get the hood even higher, there's a second spot where you can insert the hood prop, and then the hood goes up at a higher angle to allow you more access to the engine. Another interesting thing under here,
So a funny story about that secondary hood prop spot is I knew somebody that had an Integra way back before I ever had a DC Integra. I had a DA Integra for a long time. But long before I ever had a DC Integra, I knew somebody that had a DC Integra, and they had propped their hood like this. I think just to show off or whatever. They opened the hood for like a show of some type. And a good wind came gusting through and flipped that whole hood back, because it's pretty easy to do when it's vertical like that outdoors. And it ended up smashing out his window and bending up his hood and everything.
Take a look at the valve cover. It looks so nice. That's how it looked when these things were delivered new. The interesting thing about it is it says on it Honda Motor Company. They didn't even bother trying to disguise the fact that this was a Honda in other countries. It was a Honda engine, even though they called it an Acura in the United States. Their Acura badge is on the outside of the car, but
I don't think that most Acuras are hiding that. I've worked on a bunch of different Acuras that the engine says Honda on the engine. I mean, I can't go through a whole list of specific models, but there's like places all over it that it says Honda. I mean, I think that's like the allure of Acura. They want to say that they have all the reliability of a Honda, but all the comfort of like a Mercedes. So, you know, it's not, I don't think like it was ever supposed to be a secret that Acura was made by Honda.
But once he opened up the hood, they were not shy about calling it a Honda. Another interesting thing you'll find when you pop open the hood, you look around for a minute and you start to realize this car has a lot of VIN tags on it. In fact, it has really a lot. You will find one underneath the hood, on the hood itself, on the passenger side front quarter panel, on the driver side front quarter panel. There's one in front of the engine, there's one on the engine itself, there's one on the firewall, there's one on the transmission, there's also one on the driver side door, and then on the driver door jamb for the rear quarter panel, on the passenger side door, and on the door jamb on the passenger side for the rear quarter panel, and there's another one on the trunk. This car has like 25 VIN tags on it. I've never seen anything like that before. I think the reason they did that, like I mentioned, this car was notorious for getting stolen. Honda also had a lot of theft problems in the early 90s with other cars, and I think they put all those VIN tags on every panel to kind of discourage people from stealing.
That's 100% wrong. First of all, those VIN tags, most of them are just stickers that you can rip off. And second of all, it's not unique to the Type R. This is true on Accords of these generations that I've worked on. It's true on Civics that I've worked on. It's true even on the base model Integra that I had. essentially the purpose of putting all these VIN tags on is for manufacturing. They keep track of it that way a little bit better. There's different stages of manufacturing where somebody might approach the car from a different angle. I don't think that Honda did this at all to reduce theft. That is just pure conjecture from Doug DeMuro, and it's not based on any reality.
It, stripping it for parts, swapping out panels from stolen cars, whatever. But if you have them all in place, you know it's your Integra with all of the original panels. Next up, moving on to the front end. The front end of this car is rather interesting. As you can see, there are 4 little circular headlights. Now, the interesting thing about it is the Japanese market Integras and Integra Type Rs had normal sort of horizontal headlights. Only the US market cars had these circles in the front. I don't know why they switched them. The only thing I do know is that everyone hated them. Everybody who bought regular Integras Type Rs complained about these weird circle headlights on an otherwise sort of angular car. Now, the interesting thing is that switching them out was not particularly easy. Not only was it a different front clip, but it was different fenders and a different hood, so you couldn't just easily go and swap your front clip and get the Japanese market headlights, even though many people wanted to. We were stuck with these. Probably some focus group said they preferred the circles to the squares, and so that's what Honda went with in the US market. Next up, I want to talk about the badges. Now, if you look at the Acura badges in the front and in the back, you'll see that they're red, and it looks like some sort of cheap modification that some tuner kid would do. But actually, all the Type R Hondas had red Honda badges in Japan, so they figured if they were going to sell a Type R in the United States, they might as well make red Acura badges. So those red badges are actually unique and original to this car. They were only on Type Rs. One other interesting thing on the subject of badging is the Type R badges themselves. There are a few Type R badges on the outside of this car, and they were decals. The rear quarter panels contain the most prominent ones, and you can see that it's 2 separate decals. One of them says Integra Type, and the other one says R, and it is kind of cool. Of course they went with decals for weight savings, obviously. There's also another one on the rear of the car. It says Integra Type and then R. Now, if this car came out today, it would be full of Type R badges on every surface, letting everybody know that it's a Type R, but back then, these things were a lot more subtle. This one only has 6 Type R badges throughout the car. The 3 that I already showed you. There's also one under the hood. It says Type R in one place under the hood, and then there are 2 in the interior, which I'll cover in a second.
I'd be interested to find out if that strut brace that's on there is even a factory component. I haven't seen very many cars come stock with a strut brace, but it could be. I won't rule it out. I'm just saying it seems unlikely, especially because you can see that it's, you know, if it is factory, it's been on and off several times. You can see the you can't quite see it on your end because this little sidebar is in your way, but the bolts where it goes, you can see the paint's been marred all over it. But, I mean, you have to service it, I suppose, so you'd have to take it off once in a while.
Next up, I want to discuss wheels, and in the discussion of wheels, we must also discuss colors. Now, Acura did an interesting thing with the colors of this car. In 97 and 98, the first 2 years it came out, it was only available in white, and the wheels were also painted white to match. They skipped the 99 model year for some reason, then it came back for 2001, and then the car was only available in yellow or black, and the wheels were now gray, no longer painted to match the body. Next up, moving around to the back, there are a couple of interesting quirks worth noting back here, starting with the antenna. This being a 1990s car, you get in, turn it on, turn on the radio, and then the antenna in back automatically whirs up to place itself in the best possible position for radio reception. When you turn off the radio, of course, the antenna whirs.
There's absolutely nothing special about this feature. I don't even know why he's mentioning it here, because I mean, even like the Ford Taurus station wagon did this, like all the way up until like 2006. So why is this important? I don't know.
Back down automatically, and you can hear it from inside the car. A couple of other interesting items in the back. One is that it says Integra in the bumper. Acura didn't put Integra badges on this car. Instead, they decided to just sort of deboss it into the rear bumper. The weird thing was the Integra Type R also said Integra Type R right below the taillight, so it was sort of on there twice. It's worth noting it also says Integra in the front bumper, just to really drive home the point that this is, in fact, an Integra. Also worth noting back here is the wing. The wing was unique to the Type R. None of the other Integras had it. It was very large by 1990s standards, but it wasn't quite large enough. When you're inside the car and you look in the rearview mirror, you will notice that what you see primarily is wing. Had they made it a little taller or shorter, it wouldn't have blocked your vision, but in this height, it does. Next up, moving on to the rear of the car. A couple of interesting things once you open the hatchback. First off, it's pretty roomy back here, even though this sort of looks like a coupe. It is, in fact,
I guess I kind of want to point out, he says if they would have made it any taller or shorter, it wouldn't have impeded your vision. Well, they did, in fact, offer a shorter wing on the regular Integras, and it really didn't impede your vision at all, but you know, it wouldn't differentiate it from a regular Integra or Integra GSR if you had a shorter wing, and if you had a taller wing, it would just be totally obnoxious. I'm sure, you know, if Honda's making a car like this that's mostly subtle, and this is conjecture on my end, but I would think if they're making a car that's fairly subtle like this, that's mostly a performance car, the ergonomics of it aren't at the top of their list of priorities, and they most likely would have tested that in some type of wind tunnel and figured out what the height of the wing should be. I hope, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they just wanted to look cool and that's as high as they could get it.
A hatchback. It's got a reasonable amount of cargo room, and you can fold down the seats so you can transport a television or furniture in your Integra Type R. Also interesting, you can see a bar in the cargo area back there. That's a bar that goes across the whole car for chassis stiffening to improve handling and make the car stiffer. Only the Type Rs had that bar. Next up, moving inside the car, we start with the first thing you notice when you open the door. That would be the floor mats, which are rather interesting. The floor mat on the driver's side says Integra Type R. Makes sense, that's what the car is. On the passenger side, it's just the Acura logo. Admittedly, it's red and sporty, but they don't match. One is Integra Type R and one is Acura. I'm not sure that I've really seen that before in any other car. The next thing you notice almost immediately is in the center, on the center control stack, it is rimmed in carbon fiber. Except it isn't carbon fiber, it's just plastic sort of designed to look like carbon fiber, but that must have been pretty forward thinking for the time. Nobody was...
I don't think that that's factory, but I would like somebody to point out whether or not, like, these cars actually had that. Carbon fiber wasn't really like a popular thing at that time. I don't even know like if you could even like if carbon fiber accessories were even around. Like it seems to me like somebody might have like did some type of vinyl wrap on that later on or dipped it. They did like a hydro dip on it. Just, you know, that happens, you know. I'm not going to say that it is stock or not. I just think that it's probably not.
Was doing carbon fiber or fake carbon fiber back then. This had to have been one of the first cars that had it. It isn't just in the center control stack, it's also in the gauge cluster around the gauges and on the driver's side climate control vent. It is not on the passenger side climate control vent. If you wanted your carbon fiber and you were a passenger, well, too bad. Next up, we have to discuss the cup holders in this car. First off, I'm surprised that this car even has cup holders. Many cars from this era didn't, but this one does, but maybe it shouldn't. They push out from that carbon fiber center control stack, and they are the flimsiest, crappiest, tiniest cup holders you'll ever see. A total afterthought. There's no point in even including them, but they're there. The thing that I find most interesting about the cup holders is, though, below the area where the cup holders come out, you can see there's the center console and more fake carbon fiber, but there's a little bit of film below that area. Acura knew that the cup holders would drip and condense and drip water and drinks onto that center console, so they put a little bit of film there to protect it, and that is smart thinking. That film is now still on this car almost 20 years later. Next up, here's something I've never seen before in any automobile. Go up to the clock, which is on the top of the dashboard, pretty standard placement. The weird thing is the hour and minute adjustments are behind a little plastic door. It is so weird. It's like they didn't want to clutter the cabin with the hour and minute adjustments, so they let you hide them behind a door when you're not using them. When you want to change the hour and minute, you open the door, and then you can change the time, just like in every other car.
I feel like he's really stretching to find unique aspects about this car. I mean, that's a serious stretch.
car. And speaking of weird buttons, I want to talk about the steering wheel. The steering wheel in this car has a horn on it, obviously, but the horn is in little buttons to the right and left of the center of the steering wheel. This was tremendously common in 1990s cars, but you never see it today. Back then, 90s cars, it's like they couldn't figure out how to make the airbag work with the horn, so the airbag is in the middle and the horn are just these buttons on the side. It's very stupid in retrospect, but back then, this was how almost everybody did it. Moving further back beyond the parking brake lever, you will see the center console lid, which is finished in this cool Alcantara, and it has this red stitching. This is very commonplace now in performance cars, but back then it really wasn't, and it looks cool. The seats also have the same Alcantara and red stitching, and then in the middle they have sort of this mesh to keep you gripped in place when you're going around corners. Now, further back behind that center console lid, you will notice the plaque, and that is another place where you'll find a Type R logo in this car. The plaque is super cool. It's actually numbered. The first two numbers are the model year, and then the serial number that yours was in the production line. The strange thing about the plaque, though, is that it sort of faces the rear seat passengers. In fact, you can't really see it when you're sitting in the driver's seat. They could have mounted it on the dashboard, wherever, but they didn't. So you'd never really know it was there unless you went looking for it. Nonetheless, proud Type R owners surely tell their passengers to look behind them so you can see my plaque. Next, we have to discuss the door locks. Now, like I said before, this car has power door locks, and the power door lock button is right there on the door panel. Pretty standard, nothing unusual, but it has an interesting flaw. Now, like I mentioned, this car was commonly stolen. People were trying to get the engine, the transmission, a lot of other stuff out of it. And apparently, the easiest way to break into a Type R, you would sort of peel the door back, stick a coat hanger down, and then you could just flip up that little door lock switch because of where it was positioned on the door panel.
Okay, I don't understand why this is interesting, because this is true for like every car with power locks. There's a way to stick a coat hanger somewhere in there to press the lock or pull the lock or whatever. I don't really see what his point is. Actually, if I had to guess, that's probably more difficult than what Ford's answer is, which is to have a lock button which you push, because at that point you could just stick the coat hanger straight in and depress the button very easily. With this switch, you would literally have to hook the switch and pull it up. That's not a flaw to me. Compared to the other options, that's probably one of the better.
It was just so easy to access and flip up, and then you could unlock the doors and get in. A lot of Integra Type R owners pulled the fuse for their door lock switch so that that switch had no effect when you pushed it or pulled it, so that people couldn't break in and steal the car. Next, I want to talk about the shift lever. Now, the shift lever in this car was unique to the Type R. You can see it looks kind of cool, especially with that fake carbon fiber behind it. It also has a unique shift knob that looked kind of cool with little red gear pattern on the top of it to emphasize the car's sportiness. Next, I want to talk about interior storage. Now, this car has the usual stuff. It has a center console, it has a glove box, nothing out of the ordinary, except it has one weird little hidden storage compartment to the left of the steering wheel, basically in the driver's footwell. On the bottom of the dashboard, there's a tiny little hidden compartment. It's very small. I guess you would put coins in there if you were going into a toll booth situation frequently. That's about all it's big enough to carry, but it's there, the hidden storage compartment in the Integra Type R. But I want to move back to the...
All Integras have that compartment, but okay, if he thinks that that's unique to the Type R, I'll let him roll with that.
Glove box for a minute, because that's where you'll find the owner's manual. Now, obviously, this owner's manual pouch has a couple of interesting quirks, one of which is this little panel called Understanding Body Language. Apparently, it was a pamphlet they gave in new Acuras in 2001 to let you know what people meant at body shops when they said certain things. There's also this little supplement in there that describes how airbags work. This isn't an Acura-specific supplement. Apparently, it was put in a lot of cars to just sort of explain airbags since they were relatively new in 2001. Maybe the most interesting thing about this pamphlet, I find this drawing to be a little bit morbid. It's basically explaining to you that getting in an accident at high speed with a car without airbags has the same force as jumping off a 3-story building, and then it shows sort of what it would look like if you jumped off a 3-story building, just in case you didn't know. That's kind of an interesting illustration in an automotive pamphlet. Also, there is a little pamphlet inside the owner's manual entitled Acura Total Luxury Care. When you open it up, it says, within this portfolio, you will find several useful items to maintain your new Acura, including an Acura ballpoint pen. And indeed, all these years later, the Acura ballpoint pen is still here inside this pouch, a useful item to maintain my new Acura. Next up, the owner's manual doesn't have any really unusual or interesting things, but I did find one unusual item. On page 218, under Exterior Vehicle Care, it tells you that twice a year, you are supposed to clean the antenna with a dry cloth and a mild detergent. Can't you just imagine someone putting that on their calendar? Well, it's June. Get out the dry cloth and the mild detergent. It's time to clean the antenna. The other interesting thing inside that owner's manual pouch, how about the original buyer's order? I no longer have the original window sticker, but the buyer's order is in there. This car was leased when it was new, and the deal this guy got, he paid MSRP, he leased it at $4 grand down and $260 a month, which today sounds like a pretty good deal for a car that ended up becoming an icon. Next up, moving on to the rear seats. Yes, this car has rear seats, and like usual, I will now attempt to climb inside. I've already moved the front seat forward to prepare. So you get in, step in, and it's actually not all that bad. Put the seat back, and it really isn't so bad, although I think if you put the front seat back in a normal position, it would be a little bit challenging. There aren't really any interesting things in the back, except for the fact that the back seats are made of the same material as the front seats, the same Alcantara and red stitching and mesh, and that's cool. It's a cool attention to detail, even though Acura surely...
I'd say that Doug is really struggling hard to find anything interesting to say about that car. I mean, ultimately, it's just an Acura Integra with, you know, performance upgrades. So to go and try and find some quirks to a pretty standard vehicle, it's probably not that easy. I guess I wouldn't fault him for having a hard time trying to find something to say about it, but, you know, Doug DeMuro has this really strange way of talking where he just, like, over-enunciates things. Like, he's, like, sitting there saying, the Integra, like, super long. I don't understand. Does he talk like that normally? Like, if you call him up, is Doug DeMuro going to talk to you like that? If you go out to dinner with him or something, like, get really weird really fast. So let's see what this is suggested to me.
Car cranked up to a sensible level because I'm R to the H, Rick Herbert. You guys have no idea. I'm about to put the gag back in the gag reel. I'm about to pimp this rap party. Let's go.
If you wanna come to my hotel, then I'll slide you a room, kid. And you gonna carry yourself, girl. And I wanna get with you cause you're 13. And then if you wanna come to my hotel.
Yeah, that's weird.
As you can see, it's true what they say.
It's the outtakes.
Yeah. The shit you don't see. So it's built like a tank, but it looks like a brick. You know what I'm saying? So, hey, if you didn't know, come on over. This is Rick Herbert's. If I got gas in the tank, I'm gonna roll right over it or right through it, because I'm your boy X to the Z. Exhibit.
If we had to stay here all night and get the river done, that's what we're going to have to do, man. I gotta use the bathroom. I gotta go.
Save a spot for me. I'm on the bathroom too.
We put new brake pedals.
Okay.
And that's how you control it.
Yo, Billy D is somewhere throwing Colt 45s against the wall the way the condition of this caddy is.
Hi! Tampax by West Coast Customs. We will officially pimp your area when it's that time of the month.
Man, everybody watches this show.
Now, how long does it take to do one like that?
Man, it takes between 7 and 10 days.
Really? Is that it?
Yeah.
How come my cars always take 2 years?
All you motherfuckers need to know is right now,
Honestly, what the fuck y'all see right now is what you get.
Yeah. Go get him, Big Dave! Go get him! Go get him, Big Dave! Go get him, Big Dave! Go get him, Big Dave!
It's interesting to watch those bloopers because at least we can see that they're human beings there instead of just strange product shills for MTV making fake cars for fake people, I would say. But this has been an interesting one, just kind of trying out a couple different ideas doing these streams. If you got any suggestions for our next stream, throw them down in the comments if you watch this after the fact. And I'm going to try and prepare more videos if I do another one of these where I sit down with you guys and kind of watch all this stuff. And yeah, I will catch you guys in the next one.